sessions that I highly recommend to watch once they're available on demand. I already posted a post on LinkedIn yesterday, but there are 2 sessions that I think they're really good. And one is about the data migration for the infrastructure merge, how to prepare the data, delivered by Rachel Profit. And the other one is about integrating Azure Directory with Dynamics 365 HR by Parag Chapre. So I really recommend those 2 to watch them. If you're interested in this topic and if you want to know a bit more about fun stuff you can do around HR and also prepare to what's going to come. So thank you. My session is about the infrastructure merge. So we're going to cover a few topics and I'm going to do the agenda introduction in a second. But once again, thank you very much. And thank you for listening to me in the following 45-50 minutes. So thanks. What I have planned for today, this is the agenda that I have, and of course at the end we have some like open mic if you want to share your questions or anything you can share with us and your thoughts or your questions. So the first thing is I'm going to present myself and I'm going to say who I am and how you can reach out. Then we're going to dive into the comparisons between HR and F&O and why it's so confusing for people out there. And why most of the people I know working in this environment tend to call Dynamics HR the HR module. So we're going to have a look at that very quick bit, just if you're out there and you have no clue, or if you have and you want to have more like tools to your conversation with customers or with partners or whatever, I think this point number 2 is going to be useful for you. Then we're going to dive deeper into the infrastructure merge and speak a bit about that. What is it, what is going on, and why is something that is really good for everyone. Even when I just realized that this was going to happen, I was really like upset and I wanted HR to stay as it was, and I was really like not upset, but maybe with a little bit of fear to know what's gonna, when something is a no, you are a bit overwhelmed. So that was my feeling. But now I understand that it's something really important and really good for everyone, and I'm gonna share you why this is really good. Then we're going to dive into the scenarios and migration. I'm not going to dive deeper into this because yesterday Rachel did a really good session about it. But I want to share a bit of some scenarios that your customers might be facing and how you can help them to address that scenarios. And this is the first time I think in my life that I do a slide about licensing, and let's see how it goes, because licensing requires a PhD to explain, and it's really complex. That in terms of the infrastructure merge, I want to tell you how this impacts the customers, the ongoing customers, and new customers as well. And lastly, I will share a couple of resources, and we can open the mic for some questions or comments or concerns that you have around this solution and what is happening. And below you have my web. If you want to check it out, I have a lot of things around HR, and I write a little bit about HR business processes as well, more like in the soft side, because I come from that background. So welcome aboard, and I hope you find this session interesting, and feel free to reach out. So I'm going to introduce myself, and this is a really old picture of myself. Now I'm going to show you what was happening at that moment. But before I start sharing with you the story about my picture, let me tell you that my name is Inés Urrutia de Souza, and if some of you can pronounce that good, you deserve a prize, because I don't know anyone from the community that can pronunciate my name properly. But that's all right. I'm a Dynamics 365 Human Resources Practice Lead in a company called Accenture. A couple of colleagues were presenting yesterday, and I think the day before also. I am working at the moment in Spain and working with let's say like the market here in Spain, but of course willing to grow the business internationally. I'm an MVP for business applications. I'm the second MVP for human resources, and this is something I say it very humbly, but I have the opportunity to speak both Spanish and English, and that means that I can help in implementations in both languages, and I feel really proud about that. But I wasn't forever here in the tech industry. I came I ended up here just by chance. I'm originally a psychologist. I worked in human resources for my entire career until I found the love of my life, that is Dynamic 365 HR. So you can imagine that when Microsoft presented like the changes or the infrastructure merge, I was a bit not disappointed, but nervous because, you know, as a partner, if you're with a partner and the partner changes, you feel a bit concerned. And as HR is the love of my life, I feel that I felt a little bit overwhelmed when that changed. But now I'm really happy. So before I ended up my degree in psychology, I was working in human resources. I was working with development processes, recruitment, onboarding, like standard soft HR things. I've never did like the hard payroll and like accounting kind of HR. But for me, it was really good to have this background and then move to technology, because at the moment I'm able to have a conversation with our customers or with the community in a very like understanding way, where I know the pain that they are facing and they feel confident about speaking with me. I hope so. I'm Uruguayan. I always say this. In English, I've never say it because I don't think you get confused, but in Spanish, my pronunciation is really similar to Argentinians, and I really like to keep that very clear. I'm not from Argentina, I'm Uruguayan, and Uruguay, if you don't know it, is a really tiny country between Argentina and Brazil. And we have only 3 million people, and because everyone is going out, I think we're lowering that numbers. I'm a future pilot. I hope I can become a pilot someday in the future. I'm working on it. It's one of my dreams, and a dream that I wasn't able to perform if I wasn't here in this industry. And I like to call myself as a cheerleader for almost everything, and this is, of course, almost everything because I have boundaries. And this goes really well connected with the picture that you're seeing in the screen, because when the pandemic started, I was living in Peru and I was working for another partner and doing going out to Microsoft and doing a lot of customer on-site training and meetings. And pandemic started, and I was alone in Peru, and it was kind of difficult. So the picture that you're seeing right now in the screen is me celebrating 6 months of lockdown without seeing anyone, and I'm wearing that dress, and in the background I had some balloons and some some, I don't know, like party celebration. I even bought a cake. That's how cheerleader I am. So you can imagine, if you reach out and if you want some help for something, if I think it's good, I'm gonna cheerlead for you. And lastly, you can find me on Twitter. That's my user. Feel free to reach out. I'm not quite active at the moment. I am connected, but I'm not 100% active. But if you reach out, I will definitely get back to you. So with all this introduction done, and with all my background and who I am and all the stories that add a little bit of color to this session, let me start with what is gathering all of us together here. So What is this? I like this kind of conversation because I think it makes I don't know, makes me happy because we can speak a bit about like this war between two solutions. So the important thing or the main thing about this conversation that we're going to have now is please keep in mind that is as of now, and this means that in the near future this is going to come, and this is basically what my session is all about. But keep in mind that this like kind of war that I like to call, it's only because at the moment we have two solutions that basically do the same but in different infrastructures. So of course I learned and I worked with HR, human resources, the first solution that you're seeing in the top. Um, I feel a little bit overwhelmed about finance, and I know that I'm saying this in a FinOps summit, but I feel a bit overwhelmed as an end user about the user experience and how many things we can do there. But I need to come clean, and I know that it's really useful in places where HR does not help a lot. So I really like both. Of course, I prefer HR, and I will always stay true to my love. But of course, finance can give us a little bit of like stepping a bit more into those areas where we need to go further with our employees. So these are like the two things that I wanted to point out. And first, in the first column, you can see that for Dynamics 365 HR, we know that HR provides a solution that fulfills the complete life cycle of employees, starting with the hiring. I mean, we used to call it hire to fire. It's a bit more nice if you say hire to retire, because it's not that, I don't know, aggressive. But HR, it's mainly designed and built for human resources departments to manage all processes related to human resources. And this means, as you can see in the screen, benefits or compensation, also performance development, leave and absence, compliance, business processes, and so on. What is the main pain that we have? And we had two missing points here in HR, and you need to know it if you're going to propose this to your customers or to your prospects. We have two pain points, like core pain points for human resources departments that are not covered with human resources HR, Dynamics HR. So the first one is that we don't have a applicant tracking system. There's a really rustic solution functionality within Dynamics HR, but it's really rustic, and it also only applies for some specific scenarios, like very simple scenarios. But the solution for that customer is that they want to have like an integrated platform with HR and with an ATS. The solution is to go out and find an ISV. As you know, we had in the past what it was called Dynamics 365 for talent. We had ATS module that was really good, but since the acquisition with LinkedIn, Microsoft deprecated the three applications that were offer, onboard, and attract. So that means that the ATS moved to LinkedIn, and I'm going to show you in a bit what's going to happen with that. It's not good news, unfortunately. So the first scenario is go out and find an ATS for your customer. There are several options in the market. The one that I really like the most, and this is a personal opinion, is iSIMS. I feel really comfortable about it, and I speak with product engineers, and I feel really confident about the integration. But I know there are several others in the market that are really, really good, and that depends on what your customer is looking for. And the second challenge that we have with HR is that we don't have a payroll solution within the platform. So mainly the customers are going to ask you those two questions, like in the first 15 minutes. and you need to have already a speech to cover those points. So the first one is go to an ISV and find out what you like most in terms of user experience and functionality. And in terms of payroll, the solution is to provide an API where third parties, payroll providers can integrate to the solution, and there's official documentation that you can reach out and have a look at how this works. It's not going to be in the roadmap, not now, not never, payroll solution. And I think that if it ever happens, it's going to be only for the States. That this means that I mean, mainly the point here is that because payroll is really specific to every country and region, it can also change from region to region, like from community to community. It's so specific and it has so many different like concepts that HR and the product team is not going to develop something. It's not worthy, just not worthy. So the solution is good to go and find a third-party provider that can help you to solve this challenge. Okay, so this is what Dynamics HR does. Something that I didn't include here, but I think it's really good for you to know, is that besides all these things that the human resources staff is able to perform with Dynamics HR, we also do have some like self-service solution or a platform where people is able to work on their own processes and so on. So this is not the speak or the session that I had planned, but I wanted to share a bit of what it does and what it doesn't. But in terms of finance, as you know, if we move to the other side of the slide, we already presented HR, now we're going to F&O. And for finance, and as most of you already know, because all processes in companies involve people, mainly all processes, we know that finance and operation is providing an HR module that it's helping to support some process. Finance and HR share some, for example, the personal management is the same, exact same look and feel and functionality. And then we have some other stuff that is really good in finance that I'm really missing in HR. And of course, our customers are asking. And it's some stuff around, for example, time and attendance, that is, time and attendance and like project operations, where you can log your hours into a project and that has an impact, a financial impact in your company. And also expenses. I really like when we have a conversation with a customer, they want to handle like the soft processes, but they do also want to handle this like financial processes that end up having some impact in the company. So it was a chaos as of now, and we had a really good functionalities, but they weren't speaking like between them, and that was bringing a lot of challenges for people out there. So let's go into the next one. So as I was saying, it was a chaos, and we had two solutions for one same challenge. One solution providing some features and the other one providing some others. And as you can read in my slide, this was not only a challenge for technical, I mean, in terms of integration or in terms of implementation or duplicating records, but it's also difficult to have a conversation with a customer and share with them like how solid is a human resources or finance and operations HR module, because it's a bit confusing that there are two things that do the same, or not the exact same, but share some features. And I think that the infrastructure merge and the change that we're facing, it's given us some clarity, not only for the customers that of course are like the main character of this conversation, but also for our consultants. I mean, for me as a consultant, it was really difficult to have a pre-sales demo or have a plan on implementation or do something about HR without understanding what was going to happen or what's better for the customer. And of course, because consultants now have a little bit of more understanding about what's going to happen, the partners are benefiting about how this is moving on. All right, so luckily we have this chaos. I think last year was a bit overwhelming for everyone when we had this announcement, and I had conversations with people from all over the world, and I even have conversations with Microsoft employees, and when the announcement just was posted, people believe that HR was deprecated. And I want to make sure that everyone out there is understanding that HR is not going to be deprecated. We're going to dive deeper into this in a moment, but it's not going to be deprecated. It's going to still happening. It's going to still being a standalone application, and yeah, it's not disappearing. Because if it's disappearing, my work is disappearing. So, but mainly it's not disappearing because that's not what is happening with this infrastructure merge, and that's why this session is happening. All right. So, what does this infrastructure merge means? That we have all the finance and operations applications in the same infrastructure. This means that we have some, for example, if we want to do something integrated between the apps, it's going to be much easier. For example, we implemented this integration between HR and finance in a customer, and we needed to do, of course, data integrated project where the information only goes one way from HR to finance, and it upload or refresh the information or add the new information, and that was a bit difficult in terms of usage or user experience for our customer. So what's going to happen in we expect this year, it's that we're going to have the same infrastructure, and we're going to have the possibility to make things a bit more easy for our customers and our partners as well. So this infrastructure merge is going to help us to, of course, improve extensibility. We're going to have some really good integrations or extensions, and I really want to do something with, for example, project operations, and do something with HR and project operations. So if anyone out there is willing to share a bit and do something fun, ping me. Second, this drive consistency thing is really important because of the point that I was telling you before. When we had conversations with customers, it was really difficult to say Microsoft is providing two solutions and you need to decide where you want to go through, and if you want one, you can have the other, and the other way around. And that was difficult, mainly because it was quite confusing, and the conversation with customers was really difficult. And if we have this kind of challenges with a really good provider as it is Microsoft, I think that there are some customers that, despite the investments, they decide to go to another provider because of this back and forth on these HR changes, as well as create market clarity, and this goes linked with what I was just saying. And we can adopt platform innovations, and this means that because we have everything in the same infrastructure, we're going to be able to do stuff in terms of innovation from all the finance and operations applications together. So this is basically why is the infrastructure merge happening. I think that is a really intelligent decision, a very smart decision, and I hope that you like it. I hope that you're happy with it. All right, so we have some scenarios that I wanted to share with you, and because you might face them at the moment, and because the infrastructure is not already 100% happening, I just want to make sure we are I share with you how this is going to work or how you can solve these scenarios. So the first one is about customers working on an implementation of Dynamics 365 HR, but they are not live yet. This is the official recommendation for Microsoft, and the product team is recommending to not go live in HR and to implement it in finance and operations. That's the official recommendation, and you can find it in the documents. It's not something that I made up. It's something that is described by Microsoft. But that, of course, depends on licensing and a lot of things that your customer might have. So, but if you're having an implementation around HR, have a look at the documents and have a look at the roadmap and how this is going to impact in your current customer. One thing that is important, why the Microsoft team is recommending to go directly to the HR module, because if you implement HR and if you go live, after the infrastructure merge is done, you will need to migrate all your data. So that's basically like the justification why this could be easier for you. So instead of going live in HR and then doing the migration, you can go all in one and just go to finance and do the implementation there, go live, and when the migration is done to the new infrastructure, there's nothing that you need to do by hand. So that is at least there's almost nothing you need to do. So that's the recommendation. Right, we have the second scenario that we have customers already using HR with capabilities that finance is not providing yet. So for these customers, I think that the best thing to do is to keep going until this solutions for finance sorry. So for this second scenario, and customers that are already using HR with some capabilities as finance is not providing, the recommendation is to wait till they are available in finance. And if it makes sense to do this migration, you can do it. And if not, as you know, we are going to still have two platforms. So for those bigger customers, they can still use finance and operations are for the tiniest one, or those that they don't want to solve like the finance thing about human resources, they can still go in with HR. So that's mainly the second scenario. And I think we have a third one. Yes, and this is a very, very good news, because of course this infrastructure may have some good things and some bad things, and this is a really good one. So for customers or for companies using this data integrator, Power Platform data integrator between HR and finance, good news, you won't need it anymore. The thing is, if you know it, and I'm really sure that everyone here will know it, but the data integrator works one way. So you know that you will have like a father project, a father environment that will be ruling the other one. And in this case, for example, in my experiences, we always have HR being the father of an F&O in terms of how the integration works. So for those customers using this integration, good news, you're not going to need any other integration project, because it's going to be a solution provided like by default in the system. And the good news also is that it's not going to flow only one way, but both ways. So if you update something in finance, it's going to impact there after in the HR and the same way around. And I think that this is really good because I mean, for me, the data integrator is kind of a headache because at some points it's not working or having some errors, and it's because of the dates or the locations. And I feel relieved that this is not going to be here anymore for us. Thank God. Okay. So let's move forward. And about the migration, I'm not going to dive deeper into this because I know Rachel shared a bit. She shared a bit about the data, but let's see these 3 scenarios that we can have. And if you have another or an additional scenario that you want to go through, just let me know and we will find a solution. So in terms of migration, the first scenario is, of course, we're talking about data migration, and we're talking about moving all the information from one place to the other. So the first scenario is for people using HR module within Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. They don't really need to do anything. They're going to still doing like using finance as they usually do. These kind of customers are going to manage if they want to enable or not some functionalities, and this it can be done by the one and only feature management. And this is really good because, for example, some companies may not want to manage benefits in the finance and operations HR module, or maybe leave an absence or whatever. So this is good because it helps us or our customers using finance to define where they want to go. If they want to enable or not some functionalities, if they are okay with what they have, or if they want to plan how the implementation of the new functionalities are going to be impacting in the company. So it's not that because of this infrastructure merge, all the HR functionalities are going to be from night to morning available and ready to use in your system. You might need to enable it, and of course the configuration. There are some functionalities that I think they're already started in January 2022. Not a lot of them, but the idea is to migrate, if I remember correctly, it's to migrate like all the modules, but leave an absence, and I don't remember the other one. So those 2 modules, the second one, I'm sorry that I don't remember, but those 2 modules are gonna be like later in the year or maybe next year migrated because they have some difficulties or some technical challenges that the product team needs to sort out. For both using Dynamics HR and using HR and Finance, we have pretty much the same, the same solution. For customers using Dynamics HR, we are going to have a migration tool that is unknown. At least for me, it's not known. And because we're going to need to migrate the information, we will need to review it. So that is why it's so important to understand that this migration is not going to be done like automatically, and we need to check out our records and information. This is going to happen in mid-2022, so we are at the month number 4, and that means that we are 2 months away of this happening. Let's see if Microsoft pushed the dates a bit more, but if not, this is going to happen mid this year. And for customers using both solutions, as I told you in the scenario that I shared before, we're not going to need no longer this integrator projects between one system and the other, but we will need to migrate the information from HR to finance. And this is going to happen at the end of this year. And I really hope we can, at least this is official information from Microsoft. And I hope we can see how this works, and we can provide our customers that are facing constant challenges around talent, HR, and finance now, to provide some clarity and maybe to give them some relief in terms of this kind of solution. Okay, so what is next? Licensing. Okay, so mainly this is about the impact that the licensing can have in customers, depending on the scenario that they have. So okay, 3 scenarios. The 2 and 3 are a bit like the same, but I wanted to share with you some stuff. So for Dynamics 365 HR users that they want to keep using HR without going into the full finance and operations stuff, once the infrastructure merge is done, there will be no licensing migration needed, so they don't have any impact in terms of investment or economic impact about licensing. Of course, services or partner fees may increase in terms of assessment and implementation if your customer needs support with the migration. But in terms of licensing purely, we're not going to have an impact, and let's cross our fingers for this to not change, because it's licensing and this is always difficult. And the second scenario is about customers having finance, supply chain management, project operations, or commerce. They will have access to human resources for the same price they're already investing until February 25 or 2025. I mean, the year 2025. And they will not need to acquire licenses. Of course, if they have their licenses expiring before that date, they will need to rebuy it, but if not, they will be able to access human resources until that time, and then they will need to acquire licenses. Also, until that date, they will not need any additional environments to be purchased. So they will and this is good news, and I'm happy to share it with you. But it seems, and if everything goes as planned and as Microsoft is sharing, that for now it's not going to have any impact from now till to February 2025, or till your customer ends up the licenses, if that happens before, of course. And this is all about licensing. And what do I have here? Resources. So I'm ending a bit early of what I expected, but luckily we will have any questions in the chat, and if not, I will give you a few minutes to rest from so much content. But these are not links because I couldn't put it here in the presentation, but there are a few things that I really recommend for you to go if you want to be connected with what's going on and what is going to happen, or if you have any doubts. So first thing first, and you're going to find the information that I share with you today and much more scenarios and questions, like frequently asked questions, in the official documentation about Dynamics 365 Human Resources Infrastructure Merge. There are lots of content, and they're updated regularly, so you can address a lot of questions. The team is quite open to solve your questions, and if you have any customer, like real life customer that is really struggling and you need some support, I think that this kind of documentation will help you through this kind of scenarios. I'm sorry. All right. Then we have the human resources homepage. This is the standard homepage with the Microsoft documentation. I know it's pretty lame to recommend to go to docs, but believe me that someday, I enter, I think almost every day, and all days I find something new, and there's an update or something that I wasn't expecting, or something that about the releases. So I always recommend to go into the main original information where you can find what's going on, and the updates, of course, from the official source. And because we have lots of partners and customers and people like me writing things, but if you go to like the main page, you will find clarity and information from the product team. Then we have the third point is the Dynamics 365 Human Resources Forum. This is like the Microsoft communities. Parag Chapare, he's a really active person there. He is really good, and I had a chance to work with him, and he's really good, really technical, but really good. And he always is helping and answering questions. So I recommend you to go there. And if you have any question, first thing, find if someone else already asked it, because I found a lot of answers to my questions from people that already asked the question. And then I recommended you very humbly, if you want to have some other, if you want to see some of the documentations but put it to actions into, you can find it in my blog. My blog, it was born because I used to read the Microsoft documentation, and at some point I was lacking like screenshots or process results or some guidance or some specific button that I wasn't finding. So that was mainly how my blog was born, and you're not going to find anything different from their documentation, but you're going to find a lot of things like spoken in our language instead of technical terms, and something that I always try to do, add some value and bring to the table some conversation that you may have or some scenario that I know you will have with your customers. That is mainly why I created my blog, and there are a lot of things there, and you can also book a meeting with myself if you want to speak. Feel free to drop there into the book a meeting. You can book a meeting with myself and speak a bit. And lastly, this is the moment for you to ask if you have any question, if you have any comment. I wasn't reading the chat, so I'm not aware if you post something, but yeah, if you want to do some question, this is the moment.
Thank you very much, Anna. Okay, so now we are opening up for question and answers. There are a few hands up, so we will raise those hands and we will unmute you to speak. Give me a few seconds. Thank you very much. Okay, so there's so we got Andre and Sahib. So Sahib, would you like to go first with your question, please?
Yes, first of all, I must apologize because I joined late, so I kind of missed some part of the session. The thing is, Anna, what are your thoughts about this product is being brought back into Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation, and it will be depreciated as an independent product? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, for me, it's I was a bit in the first part of the session. I was saying that when I realized that this is going to happen, I was a bit concerned because I wasn't expecting for HR to change as much as it changed in the last couple of years. So I wanted to, you want the product to stay as it is, at least for 2-3 years, and give some consistency to the customers and some clarity to the partners. But now that I understand the impact and how well it's addressed by the product team, I think that is a very happy decision that they move into the infrastructure. And also it's really happy that for that customers that are not willing to move to finance, they're still able to use our standalone application in a much more smart way than before, and that gives me some tranquility as an implementator and as a consultant. So yeah, that's my answer. Hope you like it.
Yeah, a little more. So my question is in regards to impact on the consultant, like you yourself. You're one of the experts into this area of HR for a long time. So all your expertise are in that area. Now, when the product comes inside finance and operation as a sub-product, a small part, a module, will it make any impact on the consultants who are working in the industry?
I don't think so, because consultants from this industry and mainly for this product already know what finance and operation does as like as if for HR, from an HR perspective, they are really aware about the HR module, and also consultants that implement human resources are also implementing finance, not all the system, of course, but yes, the HR stuff. So I don't think it's going to have a really like big impact in terms of consultants. I hope not, because I'm one of them. But yeah, I don't think it's going to have a big impact. Just some good news for customers. That's what I think.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question.
Okay, Andre.
Yeah, Anna, before I ask my question, I will first make a comment. You mentioned Dynamics 365 as being the love of your life. And actually, I started earlier with the AX solutions and the first cloud-based version where the human resource was still in F&O, but it was taken out later. So I did consider it myself as being the lost son. But I'm also like you, happy, and I think it fully makes sense that it will return back in the application itself. But for the scenario where now customers are using both the HR and also finance operations and having some employee data in it, you mentioned that there was just a one-way direction with the Dynamics integrator, which was indeed sometimes an issue or a pain. Because it would also imply that you would have to maintain the financial dimensions in your HR environment, where it's usually being done by a finance department, which is not HR. So there were scenarios where that part of the integration was not enabled. But probably also there might be scenarios where the data is not in sync because of the integration was not fully used like it was intended. So it might be the case that some users or the workers, employees, are still active users, active workers, or have different positions, different kind of departments allocated. What would you recommend to approach for those existing customers for the migration?
I recommend wait till Microsoft published really clearly what they're going to do with both solutions. We know we're going to have something in between that is not the data integrator that goes only one way. We know that we're going to have the full like communication between both. But for me at the moment, there's no clear path to recommend. And that is a nightmare because we have that kind of situations where we have data from one side that it needs to be updated, but we have data from the other side that also needs to be updated. So at the moment, and how I'm managing to a specific customer is that we are using HR, as I already told, like the father or the more strong solution that it's ruling against finance, and then there's a person in finance that updates like manually the information. I think that it's not the best solution because manual update is not always recommended, and I really hate it. But at the moment, it's that or not updating things on finance. So it's really difficult at the moment.
But at least customers can prepare already to identify where they have their differences today. Then they'll wait until Microsoft will bring some more updates on the migration path. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Andre. Right. Okay, any other questions? A few comments. Benjamin saying, we can see your lovely smile.
Okay. I do smile a lot when I talk about HR. That's really, yeah, that's fair.
Okay, it looks as though there's no more questions. So it looks as though you've answered all our questions and concerns in your presentation, Anna. So I just want to thank you once again for sharing your expertise on HR. Yes, hopefully we'll see you soon, hopefully next time in person.
Yes, please. I really want to see in person everyone. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you for listening to my enthusiastic speech. And if you have any question, you know where to find me.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.